Breaker Crunchers, it's Saturday night in Phoenix, Arizona, and we have a special offer for you. Now, for a limited time only, receive 50% off your entire order at the Couch Crunchers store when you purchase an exclusive Couch Crunchers Dildominus Rex toy.
That's right, Lance. Dildominus Rex. 60% bigger than our competitors, and it lasts 80% longer.
And 60% of the time, it works 100% of the time. So, guys, head on over to www.legitimatepodcastculturepodcast.com. That's right. It's spelled like it sounds. www.absolutgeekpodcast.com. That's right. AbsoluteGeekPodcast.com. Head on over to get your Dildominus Rex.
Oh, where's the screenshot? Here we go.
Oh man!
Welcome to the dumpster fire tonight, team.
All right, let's get on with our show.
We had to
had
practice our
fun.
script. That's why we were so late.
This is
I know, right?
that. Well, that's not.
There-
That's just a shout out to our boys at Absolute Geek. I guess they got their feelings hurt. They had to tear us down on their podcast last night.
Well,
but we only
apologize.
needed 2 minutes to retaliate, not 25. So.
I know, right? The Absolute Geek podcast was so butthurt by my comment that they spent 25% of their show trying to be us.
By the way, do you guys see that all my lights are off, like Matt on?
You look just like Matt.
I'm saying if I sink back,
I gotta really lean back, so only your chin and
Like
up
this.
is visible. There you go.
So for context, this is an inside joke between Absolute Geek Podcast and us. We're in this Facebook page where you can promote your podcasts. And someone posted saying, "Hey, let us know if you have a pop culture podcast." They put their link, and then I came on and commented saying, "That's not a pop culture podcast. They're just a bunch of dudes that talk about their dildos, especially Cockosaurus Rex," which is something they talked about on their show to be funny. But
we have our own.
Maybe I shouldn't have done it on a
Rex.
public forum.
No, they're good guys.
Dildominus Rex is way cooler.
Absolute Geek's a good show. They're good guys.
Absolutely.
We love the interaction we have with them, and we're glad that you get to have friends. With friends like these, who needs enemies?
Oh.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm watching The Way Out earlier today, and like an idiot, I need to learn to just put my phone The Way Back, sorry. I need to learn to put my phone to do not disturb, because Lance and Sam were having a heyday texting back and forth while I'm in the movie with ideas of what we should say tonight. And I go out to go to the bathroom, and I'm like, I've got 20 text messages. No wonder my freaking pocket was buzzing like crazy.
Yeah, we were having a good time
right?
coming up with that graphic, that very graphic.
I don't know. It reminds me a little bit of Lance's screen usually on the show. It's so pixelated.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I know, right?
All right, turn your lights on. I need to see the shiny dome.
Well, it's all the way across the room. I was just going to do the whole show like this.
Fair enough. Well, what are we talking about tonight, man?
Well, we got some favor flow. Hold on, I'm putting something on the screen here real quick. Give me one second.
Before you do that, man,
let me see here.
There's something that I want to talk about that it wasn't on the show notes, but I really want to make sure this is touched on. Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming out April 10th, and the demo came out on Monday. Like, they surprised everybody. The original release date was this Tuesday, March 3rd, and then they pushed it out to April 10th to do additional polish. And then Monday morning, all of a sudden, just a surprise release of the demo, which is the first mission of the game. And it was snowing here in Colorado, so I was working from home. It was perfect on my lunch break. I downloaded the game that morning, worked for like 4 hours, then on my lunch break, played the demo. It's freaking awesome. So much fun. If you have PlayStation, it's free, so there's no reason, not to get it.
Which game is it?
Final Fantasy VII Remake, the demo. It's free. It's about an hour. Super fun. I could not be more excited for this game. I have grown up loving Final Fantasy VII, and the demo was awesome. The remake always has had me excited anyway, and playing the demo just made me even more hyped. I can't wait. April 10th actually is going to be when you guys are at whatchamacallit, why am I forgetting? WonderCon. And so I'm going to be talking about
if it happens.
I know.
If it happens now, dude.
Yeah, I mean, if you know what, I'm going to go ahead and help segue into a conversation that we were going to have then, because coronavirus keeps freaking delaying stuff, just like James Bond, man. Like the James Bond movie has been delayed to November. What do we think about that?
I think I don't know. I think all this stuff is completely overblown. I think it's being over. There's been 9 deaths in the U.S. from this virus. I
think there's been more than that, but I agree that it's being overblown. I understand why they're delaying it though, because China is a huge box office pull. The movie's done. No Time to Die, right? It's done.
Yeah.
It's just that they don't want to release it when you got a lot of people that aren't going to freaking go to the theater. That's what I think the delay is for. It's not a matter of more time to make the movie. It's not production. It's all about the fact that they want butts and seats in the theater, and it's going to impact the box office because people in China aren't going to
go. Here's what I think. I think we would be able to deal with a widespread outbreak of coronavirus. If everybody got it, I think a lot of people would survive. But I think a lot of people would die just because the healthcare facilities aren't equipped to deal with everybody getting sick at the same time. If they can stagger it throughout the year rather than everyone getting it in a month, a lot more lives will be saved. And so I think it is critical to take a measured approach, play it safe, be conservative, just in case it is as bad as everyone's afraid it is.
Yeah, I agree. I think being cautious is fine. It's fair. Like my work has been sending out emails. We're a big corporation. They've been sending stuff out about coronavirus. We're all restricted from traveling internationally. Not that we really do in my industry as much, but at least traveling to China and some other countries. But there's also contingency plans in place. If the virus gets really bad, those of us who can work from home are going to be working from home more regularly and things of that nature. I think it's good to be cautious. Just like my wife, she's a school teacher. They're telling people that if it gets really bad, teachers are going to be at home working from their laptops, doing e-learning with the students instead. Things of that nature. I think it's good to have those contingencies in place. I think it's being blown out of proportion. The fact that Sam's Clubs and Costco's are out of toilet paper and everything is ridiculous. Not that this is about the coronavirus. It's more just like James Bond is something that we would talk about is being impacted. So I thought,
well, maybe you're just looking at it from the wrong angle. Maybe the people who are going out and buying toilet paper just really love toilet paper.
Maybe.
And it's like,
likes them.
And it's like, hey, if I get sick and die, I won't be able to buy all the toilet paper I was going to buy. So I need to go do it right now.
That's got to be what it is. That's got to be. I also see people joking a lot. Did we not know that you should wash your hands before the coronavirus? Because y'all are talking about it like crazy now.
Yeah, how about just wash your hands, regardless of the disease that's terrorizing your country. Just wash your hands.
But it's sad that people don't. I cannot tell you how many times I've been in a public bathroom and a guy sees and just walks out, or even takes a dump and walks out. I'm like, that is disgusting, man. Wash your hands.
Well, did he even use toilet paper?
Maybe not.
Did he do?
I don't know.
Did he do a no wipe dump?
Ugh.
Those are fabled.
Are they? That's gross.
They're very rare.
Imagine doing
hard
that
to catch in the wild.
You do it at the movie theater. You don't wipe, and then you go sit down next to some stranger. And they're just smelling you for the next 2 hours.
Well, you've sat down next to people that just smell like ass through. It smells like they've never wiped in their lives.
That's true. I have.
Or you get at my work, I don't know who does it, but you have those people that never shower and they just kind of bathe themselves in cologne or perfume, and then you walk in the elevator and it just smells like you walked into a gas chamber. That's how they clean themselves. Is they just dip themselves like Achilles style in a tub of cologne and perfume. It's disgusting, dude. Lay off the axe, bro. No, but James Bond being pushed to November. Emerald City Comic-Con is now postponed. South by Southwest, right, is postponed or canceled. I don't even know.
Sony pulled out.
I'm sure WonderCon's going to happen.
GDC, Game Developer Convention, and the gaming industry got canceled. Tons of stuff. Yeah,
it's crazy, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy, but it should help us cope with the outbreak. I think it'll be a good thing, and in the end, we'll all look back at this time and laugh, and then it'll be a few short months before we get hit with another thing.
Yeah.
I'm
for the most part not
happens like clockwork.
I'm just hoping it's mostly been flushed out by July when my baby's born, because infants and older people are more susceptible to this. That's my only concern.
Yeah, you might want to consider a home birth, Max.
That's not the worst idea, but I'm sure would terrify my wife, as this is our first.
But let's get into our next topic. So segue to the coronavirus thing, but I was going to segue when you were talking about Final Fantasy into our video game topic. The Last of Us TV series being developed at HBO.
Before we talk about this, I need to talk to you about something. The last 2 weeks on the podcast, you have said you were going to call CenturyLink. Have you called them? Because this is atrocious.
No.
Call them.
I have not.
Yeah, you sound like the old dial-up connection from time to time.
So I love this. I think this is great that a Last of Us TV series is being developed. I would rather it not be developed at HBO because I don't have HBO. But I'm probably going to get it with HBO Max coming out and the DC stuff coming onto that. But I think this is cool. I'm excited for that. I think The Last of Us would make a really cool TV show. There's been rumors of a movie, but I think TV is a better idea.
Yeah, I just worry that it's going to look too much like The Walking Dead, don't you think?
I mean, it's going to be similar to The Walking Dead, but the zombies in The Last of Us are very different than The Walking Dead zombies. It is a similar topic, post-apocalyptic zombie movie or show, but I think it could be done in a different way. And Walking Dead continues to lose viewers, but there's a market for it. So I think if you make a good post-apocalyptic zombie show, not that Walking Dead isn't good, it's just less good than it used to be, people are going to watch it.
Well, I think The Walking Dead lost its viewership when they started killing off all the beloved characters.
Yeah.
And Last of Us, I'm not really familiar with the property, but it's a guy and a girl. I mean, you explain it to me a little bit.
Yeah. So
go
ahead, Lance. You played it 10 times.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite games. So basically, there's this girl who has been infected with the virus, but it turns out she's immune to it. So this guy, I can't remember his name, Max. Do you remember his name? Joel. He has to take this girl from one camp to another camp so that they can try to develop like a
cure, basically.
A cure from her blood, essentially. So it's really straightforward. I mean, it's as far as like the story is concerned. I mean, it's him taking her. Yeah, it's a pretty simple premise. What makes the game so good is the way they do the zombies and the gameplay and stuff. Like there's these zombies that are like big pussy exploding things that like they're blind and stuff, so you have to like tiptoe around them. If you make a sound, they come running after you like balls of fury, and the gameplay is what makes that game so good. And it's a Naughty Dog game, right?
Yeah, it's Naughty Dog, but it's also the story. I mean, the basic premise is simple.
Yeah.
But the story as it unfolds, the character development, very, to me, reminiscent of Walking Dead, because that's what Walking Dead, for me, has made it good, is all the characters, the development of them, the way you grow to love them, how you see them survive in this post-apocalyptic world. The gameplay in The Last of Us is not the highlight for me at all. I think the gameplay is pretty generic, and I kind of don't even like it that much. It's the character development, the world, and the story building that really gets me. I haven't played it in about 3 or 4 years, so I don't remember everything. I just remember like the feeling I got from the game. I'm planning on replaying it because the sequel to the game comes out in May. But That's essentially what makes it so good to me. You're talking about a TV show where you can have Joel and Ellie and you can develop their relationship even deeper. You can get other characters and develop their relationships even better and see where the story goes from there. Now, they haven't confirmed where it's going to take place. I don't know if it's going to be after the first game already happened, if it's going to retell the events of the first game.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm assuming it'll start from the beginning.
I'm
I
thinking
don't see why they would start halfway through.
I don't know, because they have confirmed that Ellie is going to be gay in the show, which the base game never touches on. The DLC does. But like her being gay isn't really being touched on until this new game. Like that's a main plot point of the new game. But yeah, I like that fan casting. So you've got I can't think of his name, but
Nicolaj.
Nicolaj, is that his name? So Jamie from Game of Thrones, and then the girl from Booksmart. She was also Eve on the
Caitlin Dever.
Caitlin Dever fan casting. I think this is fantastic. But I don't.
Well, have you seen that Netflix show where she is a rape victim and no one believes her? I think it's called Unbelievable.
Yes.
She's the main character in Unbelievable.
And
she is so friggin' good in that show. So Matt from Absolute Geek turned me on to that show, and I'm thankful that he did. Like it was fantastic.
Yeah,
she just does solid performances one after another.
Yeah, I think she'd be great.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sam. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I did see that show. It was heartbreaking. There was a lot of levels to that show, and she did a great performance. So yeah, I think her star is gonna start to rise, and she's gonna get a lot of parts, and an HBO series would be pretty good. So yeah,
well, she already has an attachment to Naughty Dog, as I'm sure Max knows. At the end of Uncharted 4, she is Nathan Drake's daughter.
Oh, I didn't realize that was her.
Oh yeah. So you play the last part of that game as Caitlin Dever is that character.
Oh, I didn't realize that was her.
Mm-hmm.
I might have realized it, but forgot. Man, that's a great ending to a game, but that's a different topic. That's like one of the most satisfying endings to a franchise for me.
Oh yeah, everything tied up with a nice little bow.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
Yeah,
Naughty Dog they're masters in storytelling, which is why I feel like their games. The Uncharted, I'm not super excited for the movie, but I think that it can be good because they know how to tell a cool story. The Last of Us and whatnot, but there are a handful of games that tell an amazing story. The Last of Us, God of War, Red Dead Redemption 2. Those are three very prominent like games on the top of my mind that just tell outstanding stories.
Pong. Excellent
story of bouncing a ball back and forth. It's basically ping pong.
Man,
I think Pac-Man.
So many levels.
The greatest story ever told.
So many levels.
I love storytelling in games. It's one of the more entertaining mediums for me. My wife was just sitting here with me before the show as we were eating dinner, watching Horizon Zero Dawn. I've been replaying that game and watching the story unfold. I love it. It's just so fun. You get to be part of the story. You know what I mean? That's why I think games draw me in so much.
Yeah. That's why you're Max, the gamer guy.
It's true. It's true. It's like because gameplay is fun for me. Like I enjoy a game like Destiny, where that's the main, loop is playing the game. But I also just love single player story driven games, and the gameplay is a part of that. But I'm mostly playing for the story. Like my replay of Horizon Zero Dawn right now, I'm playing it on story mode, which is so easy. Like you can't die unless you stand there and let them pummel you for like 3 or 4 minutes. Like it would take so much work for you to die. But I just want to replay the story. So I've just been putting it on story mode because I already beat it on normal years ago, just so I can re-experience this.
No, I get it, man. I mean, that I just for the 3rd anniversary of Breath of the Wild, I just did my own little replay, and I finished the Trial of the Sword today, and yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and that's a good one too. And the story is told so much differently in that than other games, because there's not like cutscenes as much in the Zelda games. The main character doesn't speak, but there's still a lot of like story in the Zelda games.
There's cutscenes, but they're all skippable. You have to seek them out.
Yeah, that's a game I need to play. I've played it before, but I've never like played the whole thing, and I've heard such amazing things. Switch.
It's been out for 3 years. I mean, wait long enough, and there will be a sequel here you can play too.
Yeah, Absolutely.
All right, guys. So let's talk about our next topic of the night. I'm going to share my screen here for this one.
Nice.
Till Dominus
The
Rex.
Batmobile. The Batmobile for Matt Reeves, the Batman, was unveiled in a couple screenshots over last week. And how do you guys feel about this? Because I've heard a lot of people saying really good things, but I'm kind of less than impressed.
I love it.
I think it looks like a muscle car.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does. What it says to me is that Batman lives his life 1/4 mile at a time.
It just doesn't seem. It doesn't seem very unique or different or anything. I still think that Christian Bale's Batmobile was way better than this.
Well, I think Christian Bale's was great. This is good to me, and I'm trying to find the picture because there's a comic where Batman's very new, is in his infancy, and the Batmobile looks almost exactly like this Matt Reeves version.
Yeah,
and that's what has me excited.
See, I think this is a signal as to a bat signal, if you will, of what kind of movie we're going to get, what kind of Batman story they're trying to tell. This is a guy who's pulling cars off the street or maybe out of a drag race, and he's turning those into his combat vehicle. It's very small. It's very maneuverable. It also doesn't stand out as much as the tanks that he's had in the past. So they're definitely drawing inspiration from different stories, but it also feels a little reminiscent of the 1960s Batmobile.
It does.
It does.
Which is something that I've seen in the past where Batman both hates and loves the campiness of that 60s series. And there's always these kind of subtle nods to it. I think Dark Knight did the best job of avoiding those nods and avoiding the campiness, but most iterations of Batman do nod back to the fun, campy series of the 60s. And I am getting a little bit of that feel. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I mean, the fact that they hired Robert Pattinson to be Batman means that they're probably taking a more dramatic take, which fits his style of acting. He's definitely going to dive deep into the character, which he has become very good at doing. And I challenge anybody who's still hanging on to the Twilight franchise as like the bellwether of his acting prowess to say, no, he's got a wide portfolio of movies in his that he can demonstrate, and he has demonstrated his very good acting ability. It seems like they're trying to go for something more grounded, something more dramatic, and maybe something with a passenger. He wants to have someone riding in that Batmobile with him.
Yeah, the vibe I'm getting from it is just that it's a new Batman, and this is his first iteration. And we may not see another Batmobile in the movie, but I could also see us getting another Batmobile in the movie. Or maybe that's a post-credit scene type thing. But
yeah, if there is a post-credit scene, it will feature Dom from Fast and the Furious.
It definitely gives off vibes, though. It's
right.
For sure. And I agree on the Robert Pattinson thing. He definitely has more acting chops than people are giving him credit for. I think a good opportunity for people there's already tons of opportunities to watch his old stuff, but he's been in way more indie, less mainstream things. A good way to see him this year is going to be in Tenet this July. I think that's going to be a good opportunity for people to see Robert Pattinson again that maybe hadn't seen him since Twilight, because he hasn't been in big stuff really. And I agree. I think he's got a lot of acting chops, and I think he's going to do a good job. I think he's going to crush this role.
I hope so. But I'm hoping that the rumors of him not being able to bulk up are not true.
That just doesn't matter to me as much.
Who cares? Who cares if he?
Lance cares. I don't care.
Wait,
yeah, I just thought Ben Affleck.
Who's talking?
That's Matt.
I can't see. It looks like Matt back there.
Hey guys, it's Matt here from the.
Oh snap! Shots fired. Here we go.
I don't think that's at all sounds like, but that was a fun impersonation.
We got another drinking game for you. But no, I like the thing I liked the most about Ben Affleck was just how big and imposing he was. I don't want some skinny little Batman, man. I mean, that's the one thing I didn't like about Christian Bale's version of the Batman. I like a big person playing that role, and Ben Affleck to me was just fit that mold so perfectly.
Yeah,
but
I agree with you. But yeah, this is going to be
I don't know.
This is going to be a more drama heavy iteration of the character.
I think so too.
Yeah,
which I think will be refreshing.
Well, we'll see how it turns out. When is the release date for that?
It's 2021. I don't know if we have a date.
It's 2021.
Yeah, I'll Google it. The Batman release date.
Let's
June
take a look
5th,
here.
June 25th.
So before we get into the topic of the night, Onward, our movie review, let's talk real quick about some of the stuff that that we've all been watching as of late that we kind of want to get people into and everything like that. Max, I'll let you go first because I can't remember the name of the thing that I'm watching.
Well, I already talked about. I have like 4 things I was going to talk about, and I already talked about 2 of them: Final Fantasy VII Remake demo and Horizon Zero Dawn. I also recently played, it's been about 2 weeks since I started it, but I not replayed. I played this game called The Outer Worlds. It's very Fallout-esque. Fallout New Vegas, the developers of Fallout New Vegas actually made this game. Obsidian is the name of the developer. They have since been bought out by Microsoft. So it's very RPG. If you've ever played like Dragon Age, Mass Effect, it's like got that Western RPG type feel. Super fun. Loved that game. Finished it, I think, like the night after our last show. So like last Saturday. And then the Clone Wars. So I've been watching the Clone Wars every single week, and they just did another episode, and I think they have one more in this arc. It's called the Bad Batch. Is kind of like the arch that they're that they're going in. These clones that were like I don't know if they were experimented on, but they're not normal clones. They have like special abilities. They look a little bit different, and it's a lot of fun because I enjoy the clones from the Clone Wars show, but having these unique ones, like one of them's huge. Wrecker, I think his name is what he goes by. He's freaking hilarious. It's just a lot of fun. I'm loving the show. If you guys aren't watching it, but you've seen the other seasons, check out the Clone Wars because it's fun.
And what's that streaming on?
Disney Plus.
All right. Okay, I guess I'll go next. So I've been watching on cable TV. If you have cable and you have True TV, one of my favorite YouTube shows has a spin-off series on True TV called Hot Ones, the Game Show. And Hot Ones, the Game Show is a chaotic mess of a show. It seems like every episode teeters on the edge of destruction for 30 minutes. And what they do is the contestants, they don't start at the mildest sauce. They start at sauce number 7. And so there's no ramp up. They just go straight into the heat from the get-go. And they have, during the commercial breaks, they'll show you some behind the scenes while the EMTs are treating the contestants. And there's like puke buckets and sweating and cursing. And at the end, in the final round, there's this ring of fire. And it's like a literal circle around the prize. The prize is 2 tall milkshakes to quench the sauce in your mouth. And if you win, in the first episode, these 2 guys, they won, and as they're running, the fire in the middle is still burning. It's still burning as they're approaching it, and the fire just barely went out as they crossed the line where it was. It's like they could have got second-degree burns easily if they had been just a half a second faster. and it's got this feel of unpolishedness, which this raw kind of we don't know where this thing is going, which is very reminiscent of the early seasons of Hot Ones, the interview show, the original Hot Ones, where they would just pull out 10 wings, and they were all the same sauce, which was just basically liquid molten lava in a pepper sauce, and they would just go at it, and they didn't know where they were going with it, and the episodes you see are, it's like light years away from where they were when they started.
Yeah.
But it's a fun watch. The next season is not going to be like this, so check it out now while you can, and there's still a chance for just crazy off the wall.
Yeah, it looks like you can watch it
activities
on truetv.com. It looks like, so if you want to catch the episodes on there.
The first episode was the most bonkers, so I recommend that one. The rest of the episodes have been a little less crazy, but the first one was just like abrupt chaos all over the place. The other thing, I spend most of my entertainment hours on YouTube, and one of my favorite programs is a cooking show by a guy named Sam the Cooking Guy, and Sam the Cooking Guy is not your typical TV chef. He curses, he screws up, he burns himself, he makes mistakes all over the place. It's fun to watch. He's very charming. The food that he makes is very relatable. It's very doable, and the idea is that you're going to cook that food yourself. So if you're into food shows, which we do talk about food from time to time, Sam the Cooking Guy is a great cooking show, and you do yourself a favor by checking him out.
You were telling me about him because he's based in San Diego and has a restaurant, right?
Yeah, that's right. He has 2 restaurants now.
Nice. Yeah. You were telling me to check him out when I was there, and I didn't end up having time. But
yeah, so he has one restaurant called Not Tacos, and it's basically, they're not tacos. It's basically worldwide type flavor fusions wrapped in tortillas. So you may have Korean barbecue in a tortilla, or you may have mac and cheese with pulled pork in a tortilla. Just all over the place, and in a tortilla. So it's a lot of different ideas put there. And then he just opened another one called Gray's, which is like American Italian contemporary style dining.
nice.
Interesting. Well, as you guys know, I'm a big true crime fan. So anything having to do with, I'm a very big true crime fan. Anything having to do with, just case studies and stuff like that for crimes that have happened in the past. So like some of my favorite podcasts are My Favorite Murder. I find that show so intriguing. But recently I stumbled across this Netflix show called The Trials of Gail Fernandez. I don't know if you guys have seen it. And it's about an 8-year-old boy that was murdered by his stepfather and mother. I'm about 2 episodes in, but it is fascinating listening to the trial process and everything that had to do with this poor child's murder. So previously I'm reading Absolute Geek's post. Guys, if you're having a good time and enjoying this show, hit that like button and drop a subscribe. Thank you, Absolute Geek. So it looks like the war is finally squashed. But no, I finished a couple weeks ago the Aaron Hernandez story. Now I'm watching this one. I did watch that Unbelievable show 2 weeks ago as well, and I heavily recommend that to anyone that's into those true crime type shows. But what I'm most excited for, and Matt will attest to this, is tomorrow night, the season finale. He says, "Oh no, it's just getting started." The season finale of Outsider is on HBO tomorrow night, and that show is amazing. Were either of you guys fans of Ozark?
I haven't seen it.
Ozark is so super dark. It's the darkest show I've ever seen.
So it's very similar to Ozark, but there's a definite sci-fi element. So it even has Jason Bateman. Both shows have Jason Bateman. So if you were a fan of Ozark, Outsider is, or The Outsider, I don't remember if it's The Outsider or Outsider, but if you're a fan of that, this show is very similar, but it has a sci-fi element. It's written by Stephen King, so it's adapted from a Stephen King novel, and it's awesome, dude. Like, basically what has happened is in the first episode, Jason Bateman's accused of killing a small boy, and it starts being known that, like, the evidence is showing that Jason Bateman was essentially in two places at the same time. There's video showing him in this town where the boy was killed, and at the same exact time, he's at a conference, some, hundreds of miles away or whatever it is, for some teacher conference. So you start seeing that there's things happening at the same time, and you really don't know what the heck's going on. And about 5 or 6 episodes in, you start realizing that there's this whole sci-fi element that really grips you and drags you, and it's a fantastic show. And Matt turned me on to that one. But and then of course my favorite show right now is A Million Little Things. I don't know. Do you guys watch that one?
We talked about it last week. You two watch it. I still haven't tuned in.
That's right. You're not into the soap opera type thing, right? Isn't that what you're saying?
I mean, unless you count Better Call Saul, which is also fantastic, and I've been watching that every week.
I need to tune into that. The first season was pretty slow, and so I never tuned into the second season. But my brother, who agreed with me about the first season, actually did watch seasons after that and said it picks up a lot after the first season, and it starts to get into its own footing. But Breaking Bad was kind of like that for me. The first 6 episodes were kind of hard for me to get through.
Yeah, it's the same deal. It's the same deal as Breaking Bad.
Yeah, so I need to check out that show. But yeah, if you guys have a chance, check out Outsider, check out the Trials of Gabriel Fernandez on Netflix, and check out Hot Ones, the game show. Even though that show, like, I find it absolutely ludicrous, that show. I've watched a couple episodes, the game show.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
His strength is being an interviewer, but he's not really interviewing people on here, right? I mean, he kind of is, I guess, the contestants, but
no, it's just bonkers. It's a bonkers game show, dude. Like I said, it's chaos. It's abrupt chaos all the time.
It reminds me of how would you call it? Like, maybe like Double Dare for adults a little bit. Like, is that an accurate
fair
thing? Like, yeah, Double Dare for adults is essentially Hot Ones, the game show. But well, let's get into our main topic. So we all three of us saw Onward this week, right? So I saw it Tuesday, and Max and Sam saw it today, right?
That's right. Oh no, I saw it Thursday. I saw it Thursday night.
Yeah, I saw it today.
Thursday night. So Onward, without getting into too big of spoilers right off the bat, Onward is.
Are you and I not going to talk about the way back?
Well, Sam didn't see it.
Well, you guys can talk about it, and then we can talk about Onward after.
I just figured
we didn't really tell anybody. We didn't tell anybody.
I think we should talk about it. We just won't
about
say
it
any
first.
spoilers. Let's just talk about it.
Okay, so we're gonna give a spoiler-free review of The Way Back.
I made my wife go to a double feature with me today just for this purpose, buddy. Come on.
I saw it last night. Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought Ben Affleck did a really good performance.
It felt like he was. It felt so vulnerable. He was telling his life, like, because that's the struggle he went through, alcoholism and all that, and coming back.
So let me ask you: in the lead up to this movie and the press and stuff he's been doing with this movie, he's had some very honest moments, and Ben Affleck was talking about his biggest regret was his divorce from Jennifer Garner.
Yeah.
So is this movie? Is it like The Honey Boy for Ben Affleck? Is that what's going on here?
It closely aligns to his real life, I would say. I mean, you add the element of being a basketball coach and stuff, but There is a wife that he's divorced or he's separated from that he doesn't want to be separated from. You see him spiraling out of control, and I think it closely aligns to what he went through in real life. Nothing in this movie, you watch this movie and nothing in it is shocking. The trailer basically tells you what you're going to get.
I don't entirely agree with that.
You don't entirely agree?
I don't agree with that at all. There were several things not in the trailer that ended up being in the movie that were some of the best moments that I don't want to say because I don't want to ruin anything. But there was a reveal.
I mean, there's certain plot points.
Yeah,
there's certain plot points, but you kind of the gist of the movie you're getting from the trailer.
Yeah.
This guy is down and out. He works in he's building buildings and stuff, and he's an alcoholic, and you know that by the end of the movie he's going to redeem himself because that's how all these movies pan out. It's very typical. There's a couple things that happen that you don't get from the trailer, but none of them are really like explosive. I think they're great moments, and they add a dude. That one reveal was not. Dude, I saw that one reveal coming a mile away, dude.
All right. Well, let me ask you: does it work as a sports movie?
I don't think it's a sports movie.
I wouldn't say that it's it's about him. I would say that sports isn't the main story. It's just used as a device to push his story along.
Yeah, and it's funny that you talk about the trailer because I agree that the trailer basically showed what the movie was going to be about. But it's interesting because I showed my wife the trailer a few nights ago before we were going to go do the double feature. And she's like, oh, it just looks like a basic sports movie. And I was like, I don't think it's a sports movie. And I think it's more his story. And then we watched the movie and she's like, that wasn't a sports movie. It was a story that had sports in it, but it was a story about recovering from alcoholism. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what the story was. And it was very heartfelt, very touching. I do cry in movies, but it's not often. And this one got me teary. And there was a reveal partway through the movie that, again, I don't want to ruin, that due to personal circumstances I've had in my life, hit extremely close. I could relate in a different way than the character. What happens to the character is different than what happened to my wife and I, but it's similar enough that it was very moving and relatable and well done, just extremely well done.
Yeah, I love the movie, but my wife had the same thing when she watched the trailer. She thought I was taking her to go see a basketball movie.
Yeah,
and it's not at all a basketball movie. I think it just has basketball in it.
Okay, so I've heard you, Max, now say that you don't cry a lot in movies, but you cry in this movie. So maybe you do cry a lot in movies.
You know what? Touche. It depends on the kind of movie. My wife cried in Onward. I did not.
Oh, I cried in Onward. Onward got me, dude.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we definitely can.
I'm a sucker for those. We'll get into it later.
I did not cry. I didn't cry in the way back, but I cried in Onward.
Yeah.
Onward got me, dude.
So what are the highlights of the way back? What is the performance you're looking for? What's your pitch?
It's Ben Affleck. So it's all Ben Affleck. It's kind of, well, first of all, so I have a friend who is the part of this movie that got to me the most was the addiction part. So the movie is heavily surrounds his addiction and overcoming that addiction. I think that if you had to pinpoint what the movie was about, it'd be that. No, Tyler cried watching Stuber. Yeah, I think the movie's primarily about addiction. So one of my bandmates, and I'm not going to throw him under the bus here, but he has an addiction to alcohol, much like the character, and methamphetamines. And I've seen his life spiral out of control, and I see him regain that and then spiral out of control again and stuff. So when I'm watching Ben Affleck's, in this role, I was thinking a lot of my friend, and I think that's what connected me most to the movie. Was just I thought he did an accurate and honest representation of what addicts go through, how their life kind of falls apart, and rather than pulling it up by themselves up by the bootstraps and like fixing their lives, it's not until some outside influence that gets involved with Ben Affleck's life really makes him like clean himself up, I would say, right? And even then, he doesn't clean himself up right away, right, Max?
And that was like, I loved that because you always hear about, you got to hit rock bottom. And not everyone has to hit rock bottom. I'm sure there are a lot of people that recover from addiction before getting there. But a lot of people do. They hit rock bottom before anything changes. And there was a moment in the movie where he hadn't hit rock bottom, but it made it seem like he was recovering. And I was like, he better not recover, because that does not seem, because it just seemed like he recovered out of nowhere. Just all of a sudden one day he was like, I'm not going to drink anymore. And I'm like, that doesn't seem right. And then something else happens to where he does hit rock bottom. And I thought that was one of the better parts of the movie. I thought it demonstrated addiction realistically. I personally haven't struggled. Well, I struggle with different addictions, but I'm more addicted to food. That's why I'm fat. And that's an addiction too. I'm not even saying that as a joke. Like, it's a legit addiction.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But so I do struggle, but it's not the kind that leads you to get arrested or to, go to jail or things like that. But this definitely showed more of that route that does happen to people. And I thought it was a very genuine performance. I thought it depicted things more realistically compared to like people that I know that have gone through addiction and their journey with it. And I thought the performance by Ben Affleck was very well done. And there was, of course, the other story beat that I don't want to ruin that hit me extremely hard as well. That didn't have to do with addiction, but more so had to do with what maybe led to his addiction. Because they definitely indicate that he wasn't addicted until the last few years. Something led him to that.
So Ben Affleck is a highlight. Is there any other highlight that you want to bring out? Are there any other notable performances?
I don't know the actor's name, but the main, like the captain of the basketball team, the teenager boy,
he did a very good job.
He did a really good job. The center on the team did a really good job, and the assistant coach did a really good job. Those are some of the highlights for me.
But Ben Affleck is definitely,
but he wasn't in it much.
Yeah, the Ben Affleck is definitely the highlight. I also, while watching this movie, I got extreme Friday Night Light vibes as far as the cinematography and the direction of the movie is concerned. It very much reminded me of Friday Night Lights. How they kind of do those lens flares and stuff. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know if either of you have seen Friday Night Lights.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they do a lot of lens flares. Kind of the music that they chose to use in this movie was very similar to that. And Friday Night Lights, both the TV show and the movie, I think are fantastic. So that's probably why I like this movie. There's less sports in this movie than Friday Night Lights, because Friday Night Lights is about the football. Football plays a big role in the movie and the show, as well as the character development and everything. But this movie was more so about Ben Affleck.
All right, so I'm going to ask you to rank 4 basketball movies, including The Way Back, and put them in order from most watchable to least watchable. Okay.
I can't really think of any.
No. I'm going to give you the. I'm going to give you the movies. You ready?
Okay, good.
Okay, The Way Back. The Way Back. Hoosiers. Space Jam. Teen Wolf. Go.
So
The Way Back's number 4.
Most watchable to least watchable.
Most watchable.
Teen Wolf, Space Jam, Hoosiers, The Way Back. Teen Wolf is one of my favorite movies. I love that movie.
At the bottom for me, then Hoosiers, then
and not Teen Wolf 2. The original Teen Wolf.
Teen Wolf 2 is Teen Wolf 2. I thought was wrestling or boxing.
Was that what it is?
Yeah,
but that's Jason Bateman.
Jason Bateman, totally different sport. We're talking about Teen Wolf basketball.
Yeah, no, I love Teen Wolf. When he surfs on top of the car, that's an iconic scene, dude.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Have you seen Teen Wolf, the movie, Max?
I have. It's been a long time, though.
Yeah, I saw it probably 6 months ago. Again.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'd probably, if we're talking most rewatchable, Space Jam is probably my first. Then The Way Back, then Hoosiers, then Teen Wolf. Space Jam's
fair enough.
I have a hard time putting movies that have so much feeling into it in the rewatchable category. Teen Wolf and Space Jam are like comedy, And I always feel like comedy has more rewatchability than like dramas. I think dramas are good to rewatch, but it's not something I leisure. I'm like, I'm going to watch the movie again. You know, I mean, it's always comedies that you watch over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And Teen Wolf and Space Jam fit that better than Hoosiers and The Way Back.
Yeah. All right. Well, I
haven't seen Hoosiers in the year.
I derailed you from the Onward discussion. I love Hoosiers. So do you want? Let's just give our rankings real quick, and then we'll talk about Onward. Does that sound good?
Sounds fair.
All right. Okay. I'll start.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna do 4 out of 5 and a throw pillow. I loved this movie.
I'm gonna do 3.5.
Okay. Full point behind me.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I thought Ben Affleck did great. It's just, I don't know. I guess it's like just some of the reveals I just saw coming, and I hate when I see the reveals coming. That's what bothers me the most when I watch these movies, when they tried really hard to keep something close to the vest, but you figure it out pretty quickly, in my opinion. But
I didn't get that vibe. So for me, I didn't figure things out, and the reveals that did come were very personal to me. So that's why I think my score is a lot higher.
But my wife loved it, and that was encouraging that she loved a movie with sports in it. So
so did mine.
Yeah.
She really liked it too. But she said, because we watched The Way Back first, and then we went to lunch, and then we went and saw Onward. She's like, I'm really glad that we saw The Way Back first, because now we get to go see a more happy movie, which
lighten things up.
But it was definitely a more lighthearted movie than The Way Back, which, to be fair, The Way Back had quite a bit of humor in it. It was actually quite, it was quite
good.
Fun.
It was a good movie. It stinks that it came out the same weekend as Onward, though. I think that was a mistake.
Well, it's a different audience.
Different audience. You got an R-rated drama versus a PG-rated Pixar family movie.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Oh, speaking of R-rated, the best part of The Way Back is him cursing all the time on the sidelines, and he's coaching. Coaching a Christian basketball team, right? And he's cursing all the time. Yeah, he's cursing all the time on the sidelines, and they're just like grilling him about cursing. And then by the end of the movie, the kids start cursing too, and it's just like he derailed this whole like Christian thing. That was the best part of the movie.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was pretty good. But let's get into our main topic of the night, Onward. So as I was saying, I saw Onward Tuesday at a pre-screening, so I took all my kids to go see it. Sam saw it yesterday, and Max saw it Thursday, and Max saw it today. So let's really quick give Sam. Let's start with you. Let's give your initial thoughts on this movie and what you thought.
So after I go see a movie, I usually post just a brief idea about it on Facebook. So that's what I did. I'll just read a little bit. It says, even in a world populated by D&D creatures, only nerds play D&D. And I thought that was so ironic how they did that, where you have, it's basically just a modern D&D campaign. You know, it's all the same creatures. It's all the same rules apply. And it's just in modern times. It's not in some kind of Dark Ages analog. It's in modern times, and still only the nerds play D&D.
Yeah,
I did not catch that till just now.
I did. I loved that. I think that was great.
Max, your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts were that it was a ton of fun. And I really enjoyed just the basic premise of it. You know, I love fantasy, and it was all of like fantasy and like tropes and stereotypes, basically all shoved into one movie. And it was heartfelt. It was fun. I loved it. All the magic, swords, questing. The quests reminded me of video games. Like I'm sitting there watching it. I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely something I'd see in a video game. That's something I'd see in a video game. That's something I'd see in a fantasy novel and a fantasy book.
Yeah, I would say it's more of like a love letter to those fantasy games, the tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons or Magic the Gathering.
Sure.
It's a love letter to those. I mean, it's basically set in that universe.
Yeah.
And then there's little nods to those types of games throughout the movie. He pulls up the playing cards, but there's the rule book, which is very reminiscent of a Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, yeah. It's very D&D. I agree.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, very much so. I thought it was charming and wonderful. I had a great time with it.
And the most realistic thing about it was that Chris Pratt's character's butt crack is hanging out for the, I was like,
which reminds me of one of the best things about this movie. You've got a fat hero. Loved that.
No, I'll tell you why that really resonates with me is because back, I think it was in 2012, there was a Magic the Gathering tournament in Richmond, Virginia, and this guy, and I'm sure Lance, if you could look this up right now, but there was this guy. He went around the tables where people were playing, and he kept taking pictures of all the exposed butt cracks of the competitors there at the tournament. And what is really shocking is that there's not one, there's not two, there's like 15 different pictures. And he has this very kind of stern, disapproving look on his face as he's taking pictures. So it'd be like Magic the Gathering butt crack.
Oh,
yes.
That's nice. I have seen this before.
I love how he's praying next to it.
And that, he's just being very disapproving. He's like, oh my gosh. It's like, people.
Well, I really wish somebody would get a bet behind the shot of him. Because I'm assuming every time he bends over like this, his butt crack is also showing.
All right. So just a second.
He did it with his buddy.
So
fantastic.
Me and a friend, we went to a Phoenix Fan Fest, which is a convention that they discontinued. They don't do it anymore. But the first time I went, this was like my first foray into cosplay. And me and a buddy, we were like, what are we going to do? What could we possibly do? And I'm going to try and send you the shot that we did here
on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm going to send it to you on the but we did this. So I'm just saying that it is really funny that they included that in the show, because it is so accurate to these folks that's what they did. All right, there it is. So see if you can pull that up. But anyway, yeah, I just thought it was so great the way they had all these little details that if you're in the role-playing game community, this is the movie for you. Pixar, I'm sure, is full of guys that play D&D and Magic, and so they're all very familiar with these tropes. Did you get it? Did you get it, Lance?
Yeah, there it is.
So that's my buddy on the left, and I was the butt crack guy. And we were walking around. That's my folding chair, and so we were walking around the convention with that folding chair, and we walked into a panel, and they're like, "What's the deal with the folding chair?" And so we struck the pose like this, and they're like, "Oh no!"
That's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. And much like the other guys in that original photo, Sam's about to bust out of his shirt in this picture.
I was pretty hard at that time. Yeah, I had pretty big back muscles at that time. But
No, this is fantastic. No, and I noticed that too. Like, just like the simple, like if you've been to Comic-Cons and stuff, like there were so many like simple things, like with the butt crack and how like intense he was getting when they were like trying to put away the game on the kitchen table and he was like freaking out, and how seriously he was taking it. We've all met that person at these Comic-Cons, right?
Oh yeah.
Like you walk into the gaming tables at Comic-Con and how into it these guys are getting. I don't know if I've ever been into something like that in my life. You know, they get so into it. But what I will say about this movie, I didn't really give my initial thoughts on it. So I loved this movie. I don't think it's the best Pixar movie that I've ever seen. I think that still belongs to the Toy Story franchise and Up. But it is definitely up there. I think Chris Pratt and Tom Holland did a fantastic job. I loved the is it the Manticore? Manticore. I loved Octavia Spencer as the Manticore. I thought that was hilarious when she basically turned this like this fantasy building that like you were supposed to go start your quest from this thing, and it turns into like, do you guys remember Medieval Times, the restaurant Medieval Times?
Oh yeah.
Well, it's supposed to look like Medieval Times, right, okay. Sam?
Well,
so Medieval Times is a big restaurant.
Medieval Times, it doesn't look like Medieval Times because Medieval Times has a huge jousting arena in it. It looks like the kids' restaurant at Excalibur in Vegas. It would be like Medieval Times if Medieval Times didn't have the huge jousting show arena in it.
Yeah, like everything about it except the jousting thing reminded me of Medieval Times.
Oh yeah, just for sure.
Kind of the theme and everything like that. Because, but they basically turned this into this restaurant, this family friendly restaurant, and she's in there, and you see her like squeezing into these high heels and this striped, the shirt that we see all these hostesses and waitresses wear. At these restaurants, the big stripes, you know what I mean, and the little tag on it, and how she was trying to fit this role as this professional business owner, and all it took was just reminding her of like where she came from in the history that this building has, and within seconds the whole place burns down. So they get her to remember the significance of this building.
We're doing
and
spoilers.
The whole place burns down. Well, you learned that in the trailer that the place burns down.
I don't think
they showed that in the trailer.
Yeah, but it is out of context, so I would say this is a spoiler.
But I thought the movie was very well done. I thought the voice acting was very well done. My kids had a blast with it. I think it's one of the, if not the first, Pixar movie that was targeted directly at like men. I would say,
yeah, men and boys
and men. There wasn't really you would think with the subject of being medieval and fantasy there would be like princesses and stuff like that, but there was none of that. It all had to deal with the love between two brothers and the love between fathers and sons. And yeah. I think that's why this movie hit me so hard when I was watching it, because I immediately thought of my little brother. Because if you look at the two main characters, Chris Pratt's and Tom Holland's, that's basically my brother and my relationship throughout our whole lives. I was the big doofus older brother that was into comic books and kind of a nerd. My brother was always, my parents' favorite and did everything right and everything like that, so that we conflicted a lot. But when it came down to my brother and I standing up for each other and having each other's backs, we always did, you know what I mean? So it touched home for me. The other thing was with the father, and my father-in-law recently passing away, 4 years ago. It's been now 4 or 5 years ago. And I was super close to him, and he immediately popped in my head as far as if I had an opportunity to see him again. Like I related to the quest that these guys were going on, and just in an effort to see their dad for just a couple hours. Now my dad is still with me, but my father-in-law, who's not, I was super close to him, and I think that's why it touched home for me too. But it's just a fantastic story. The writing is good. The idea behind it seemed incredibly original as well, where you can always kind of find with these Disney movies that they relate to some story that's been told before, The Lion King and Entangled with the story of Rapunzel and things like that. But this one seemed very original, and I appreciated that. But what was your most favorite part of this movie, Max?
Oh man.
Now, we're gonna get into spoilers now because I have a really hard time not doing spoilers.
I
As you can
revised.
see, I didn't think that I did a spoiler just a second ago. Both of you informed me that I did. So we're just gonna go into full spoilers.
I didn't realize there was a fire, and I saw that trailer tons of times. So anyway, I've updated.
There's 4 different trailers.
Anyway, whatever. But I do tag up, so spoilers are coming. My favorite part of the movie, that's a tough question. I do want to touch on what you said, though, because I agree. A lot of that hit home for me. I'm the younger brother in this scenario. We're not the same, though. I mean, my brother wasn't the big doofus. I've always been kind of the bigger guy compared to him. That's not true. I was pretty skinny growing up. But I'm the younger brother in this scenario. And so I did relate with my brother in it, for sure. I haven't lost my dad, so I can't relate in that. But I was thinking about the fact that my wife and I just found out we're having a boy. And so I was thinking more about the fact that I'm about to have a son. And I'm sure you guys who are both fathers, and I think you have a son, right, Sam? Or do you have all girls?
I have 3 sons.
I figured I thought you did, because I know you have a few. You have a lot of
I have backups. I have so many backups.
So I figured that you guys, because you are fathers to sons, this probably hit really close to you guys as well. I don't have my son yet. I mean, he's still growing. And my wife, but even still, I was thinking about him. I've said on the show before that I've fostered 2 wonderful young boys, loved them, and now I'm excited that I get to have a child of my own that no one can take from me. And so that definitely hit home for me. As for my favorite part, it's tough to say, but near the end was probably my favorite. My fantasy nerd in me loved when the Manticore and their mother were beating the crap out of that dragon. That was really cool. It was just fun to see these like older ladies tearing up this monster. And then, of course, Tom Holland's character using magic. I thought that was really fun too, to see him using the magical staff and really coming into his own with his powers and all that. So that was really fun. I loved the end. That was probably my favorite. Was that end sequence.
Oh, how they did the dragon was fantastic.
That was hilarious.
Like, it foreshadowed it a little bit in the beginning when it's showing the school, and it shows this big giant dragon on the side of this building, and then it used that exact dragon to make this dragon at the end of the movie. Like, I just thought that was fantastic. I was laughing my butt off, especially when he gets angry and the building breaks and then it gives it the eyebrows. I laughed so hard, dude. But I agree with you. That was a great part. Sam, what about you?
Yeah, so I am a real big sucker for brother movies or dad movies, and I was telling somebody about this, how it was actually my brother I was talking to. I was taking him to the airport on Friday, and I was telling him about the movie and how I still cry every time Rudy. You guys remember Rudy, the football movie about the kid who tiny guy plays at Notre Dame, and at the end his dad's like, slow clapping him, and I was like, that always like gets me going, right? Misty eyes and tearing up. And so the moment at the end where you get the kind of the brother payoff, where Tom Holland's character is kind of he's going over his checklist and all the things that he was hoping to do with his dad, and he's crossing them off as if he's never going to have the chance to do these things. And then before he crosses off the last one, he's like, wait, I did get to do that, but with my brother. And then he starts reviewing, and he's like, I got to do all of these things with my brother. And that was a really neat thing because, a lot of us have brothers and we look up to brothers, or you may have little brothers that you look out for or have looked out for. And I really enjoy movies that portray that, because I have a lot of brothers, and I'm also a dad, but I also have a lot of brothers. 6 boys in my family. And so those moments really resonate with me. And anytime a movie, even if it's just geared towards kids, features a brother relationship like that, it really sets me off. So that's my favorite spot. I mean, also just the D&D. I just recently started playing D&D about a year ago, and so all these little nods that they kind of set up this universe is really, really funny.
With Jay and Cameron, right? You're playing D&D?
Yeah. We're getting together next week.
Nice.
So my favorite part of the movie was when they're floating down the river on a giant cheese puff. I laughed so hard.
That was funny.
When he's chomping away on this giant cheese puff. And then Tom Holland says the line, "Hey man, quit eating all the boat." And I laughed so hard, dude, because that would be me. Like, I have an issue with food as well. And if there was a giant cheese puff, that I'd be snacking on that thing to the point where we're all going to drown, but it was just, it was fantastic. And as you see throughout the movie, the level of trust that the two start bestowing into each other. I mean, in the beginning of the movie, it was kind of like the older brother had all this trust in the younger brother, but the younger brother had no trust in the older brother. And he slowly throughout the movie starts to develop more trust for him and seeing this relationship progress. And it really touched my heart. And when Sam was going over the part in the film when he's crossing off the things and then realizing, oh wait, I actually did these things, and it starts playing the montage. When Sam was referencing that right there, I started to get a little teary-eyed, because I do think about my brother and the times that we shared, and my brother and I are closer now than we've ever been. And
you're talking about me, right?
You and I have always been close from the moment that we met each other, and you're wearing from the moment we met each other and you were wearing an Aquabat shirt, and I said, "Oh, dude, you like the Aquabats?" And you're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Did we just become best friends?" From that point,
and I hadn't even
from that point it was set in stone. It was set in stone from that point forward of him wearing that Aquabat shirt. If he would have worn, I don't know, a Lord of the Rings shirt, I don't know if it would have been the same story.
Very, very true.
But the movie, and Pixar is doing something very unique. They're taking these, what are supposed to be funny cartoons, right? Essentially, they're cartoons, but they're making them touch home. They're making them to where they have a certain amount of depth to them that other animated movies don't really do.
Well, like
Pixar, I was
just gonna say, look at Coco, because I mean, man, that one hits you. That one hits hard.
Coco
is
one of my top 5. Coco is one of my top 5 favorite Pixar movies of all time. Coco, I think Up is one of those movies that is extremely heartfelt, especially the beginning of the movie when you have these two people that have been together their entire lives and they grow old together, and then one of them dies. And you have this man that needs to figure out. Absolute Geek just did a crying emoji. When you have this man that has to figure out his life from this point forward without the woman of his dreams, essentially. Mm-hmm. How does that not get you right there? WALL-E, you have this little robot that's supposed to be this inanimate thing that has no feeling and no emotion, and he's on this earth alone, right? And when he finally meets Eva, and like their ability to create depth and emotion in these movies, typically with inanimate objects as well, like toys or something like that, is so unique. No other studio can do that, in my opinion. Well, I mean, even go ahead.
Pixar's formula is simply, what if X thing had feelings, right?
Right.
So Toy Story, what if toys had feelings? A Bug's Life, what if bugs had feelings? Monsters Inc., what if monsters had feelings? And then, Good Dinosaur, what if dinosaurs had feelings? Coco, what if Mexicans had feelings?
You lost me on that one. Come on. Oh man!
Oh my gosh!
I'm just joking. I didn't. I lived in Mexico for a couple of years. They do have
explored
lots
more of what happens when you die. That's more.
All right, sure.
What if death has feelings?
Yeah. What if death had feelings? And Onward is, it's what if D&D had feelings? It's the same formula.
What if Mexicans had feelings? Oh, Sam.
I'm just joking. Mexicans are very passionate people, so of course they have feelings.
Coco is interesting too. Like Coco, my family's from Argentina, so we're Latino, and Coco had so many direct parallels to my family. That's why Coco is one of my favorites. Like just the heritage and the way these families lived and everything. I have family like that, and Coco's just a masterpiece. I can't really think of a movie that Pixar has made that I don't care about unless it's Cars. I think that's the only...
Oh yeah, the other one, the one that really is the kicker is Inside Out, which is what if feelings had feelings?
Yeah, that's the good one.
Inside Out's fantastic too. I love that movie.
But Coco, the town there where Coco takes place, I actually lived in a town just like that. It looked just like that. It's called Pátzcuaro, Michoacán. And they have the red on the bottom and then the white and then the red tile roof. Every town in Michoacán looks just like that.
Yeah, so, it's Coco's a fantastic movie.
Coco's great, and I know that's not what we're talking about, but it's interesting because I have absolutely no Mexican descent in my lines. I am very white. But because I grew up in Arizona, I feel like these ties to Mexico because there's such a Mexican population, and I love the culture, like I do. And so like Coco for me hit that too. Plus I lived in Brazil.
He says culture. What he really means is food.
Oh yeah.
Both.
I've never met a man that likes beans and rice more than Max.
I do love Mexican food. It's so good. They make good food, man. Every time I go to Arizona, that's all I eat. Anyway,
for the first year that he lived in Colorado, he's like, dude, I hate it here. Their Mexican food sucks.
I've always loved it.
I was like, that's the only reason you hate Colorado is because they're Mexican food? You loved everything else.
Colorado. Their Mexican food does suck though. No, but like Coco's a good one, man. I love it. And then because I lived in Brazil, and so I have some of that, like Mexico and Brazil are very different cultures, but that Hispanic culture there's definitely something that unifies the South American. I know Mexico's not South America, but that South American culture is definitely very similar in a lot of ways. I love Coco.
Yeah.
But anyway, we can get back to Onward.
But how do you guys feel about the voice performances? Because I thought they were spot on. I mean, Chris Pratt and Tom Holland really feed off of each other. I think they did. I don't think anybody else could have really done this movie. Like, I think they were perfectly cast.
It was a very small voice cast. You think of an ensemble cast like Toy Story, I think they had probably 18 to 20 voice actors, big name voice actors who did the cast in Toy Story. Monsters Inc. was probably a smaller voice cast. You really had Billy Crystal and John Goodman, and then maybe a handful of supporting characters. But Onward, it felt very small. You had Julia Louis-Dreyfus, you had Octavia Spencer, you had Chris Pratt, and you had Tom Holland, and very little other voice cast. So they had to work really hard to do those four, and then everybody else, they could have had anybody do those voices. It wouldn't have made a difference. So it felt like a very kind of a very concise movie. It didn't seem like a long movie, but even with the small voice cast, it felt very, cozy, familiar. It felt like a good time. But that said, I mean, it wouldn't have hurt to maybe explore a little bit more, I think. But the voice cast.
Did anybody notice that Wilmer Valderrama was in it?
Yeah, I have no idea who that is.
So he did
Dad's college friend.
Yeah, Dad's college buddy.
No, I don't know who that is.
Fez from that 70s show.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I heard his voice. I was like, oh, dude, that's Fez. And John Ratzenberger does do his Pixar cameo that he's done in every single movie. He plays a construction worker. But if you go into IMDb, there's literally 6, 9.
Yeah, there's not very many. You're
12.
right, though.
There's 13 names. 13 names in this entire movie.
Wow. It's interesting you ask about the voice cast. I agree that it was great, but it's just kind of, I guess it's one of those things that at this point I've come to expect from a Pixar movie. It's not something that stands out to me anymore. It's just, I expect the voice acting to be good, and it was.
Well, so Owen Wilson as Lightning McQueen has always struck me as odd.
Oh, I love it. I think he's good, but I've only seen the first movie. Yeah,
Larry the Cable Guy as Mater works, and maybe it's because Owen Wilson works for most people because the car doesn't have a nose, and it sounds like Owen Wilson doesn't have a nose either.
I just love Owen Wilson, man. Zoolander.
I don't know.
Did it for me.
I don't know. Cars is the one that the ride at Disneyland is awesome, but that's about it for me.
Yeah, that ride's overrated, but I do like it. Anyway, we're not talking about that. But yeah, I thought Onward was a good time. I really enjoyed it, and what else did we want to talk about on it, Lance? Anything you?
I just recommend it for families. Go see it. I mean, you don't need to go see it if you're an adult and you just want to go see it on your own. You don't need to take a family with you. I think it's very appropriate if adults want to go see it.
Yeah, my wife and I went.
It's a great feel good movie. But maybe let's give our ratings. Are you ready to give our ratings?
There's one thing I would say before I give my rating, which is on a quest, the real treasure is the friends you make along the way. And if you're going to go see this movie, it's best enjoyed. Bring your boys. Whether that means your friends, your sons, your brothers. Bring your boys. Bring your miniatures, and settle in for an adventure of brotherly bonding.
Yeah, it was a good adventure.
Yeah, that's good.
I was just going to comment. I was going to comment that I was impressed at how much better my theater going experience was than usual for these Disney movies. When we went and saw Frozen, it was fine, but we went fairly late. Lance was in town here in Colorado. We went with his family. Plus, I had all of his kids who I know next to me. The last Disney movie that my wife and I went to see at a normal time that people would go was Aladdin. And oh my gosh, that was such a terrible experience. The movie was fun, but I just have come to expect now when I go to one of these Disney movies at a matinee or even like a 7:00 Friday night type of thing, that it's going to be a bad experience. Because I had this family that came in 10, 15 minutes late. They were all screaming and yelling at their kids. They then sat down. They were loud the entire movie. And the grandma who was sitting next to me thought I was her long deceased husband or something, because she tried to reach over and grab my hand halfway through the movie. So this was a much better experience because I was sitting by a family. I was actually sitting by the mother and then all the kids and then the dad. And the whole theater was quiet. We heard a baby once, which was fine. The girl next to me did end up grabbing her phone in the last 5 minutes of the movie. But other than that, it was a good experience. I was impressed. The Onward audience was more mature.
So speaking of children in the movie, so we took my 1.5-year-old Taylor to this movie. And she's finally getting to the point where she understands that there's something happening on the screen. You know what I mean? That castle in the beginning that shows up in every Disney movie, right? So the castle that shows up in the beginning of the movie, Taylor looks at it and goes, whoa, way loud. It's completely silent in this theater. And all you hear is her go, whoa. And
see, but that's
everybody
cute.
Around it started laughing.
Yeah, no one minds that. Well, very few people are going to mind that. That's awesome. It's when the movie's going and they're talking or fighting. That's when it's annoying. It is what it is. You go to a kids movie, kids are going to fight. My wife and I know what we're getting ourselves into when we go to these. I was impressed and happy that it was a packed house. Every seat was filled and it was not like that. So anyway,
but so what, Max, what's your rating on this movie?
I'm sorry.
That says it all.
Yeah. I'm thinking 3.5. So 3 couch cushions and a throw pillow is what I'm thinking.
Sam?
3 couch cushions.
So I'm gonna go a bit higher because I did love this movie so much, and it definitely got me in the feels. But I'm gonna give it a 4. I loved it, and I intend on watching it again and owning it when it comes out.
Counterclockwise, points going up.
Well, there you go. If you're a man who's in the throes of male pattern baldness with a beard, you are going to enjoy this movie.
Also, Absolute Geek in the comments says, thanks for 3 grown men reviewing a child's movie part 2. I just want to say there is no shame in seeing a child's movie. It's okay. Get out of your fragile masculine mind there, buddy, and go see the movie.
Matt will see it. I guarantee Matt will see it.
He probably will.
But thanks, guys, for a wonderful night. It sounds like next week we're going to review Bloodshot. Is that correct? I won't be on the show, but Max will be taking the helm next week and getting everything put together. So Bloodshot next week. We do actually, there's one more thing I have to do. So we recently hit 100 subscribers this week. So that means we give away a pop. So I have all of our subscribers' names in this random name generator thing. So we're going to see who's going home with the pop. So
here we go.
If it's any of our names, just re-roll.
Oh, I took those out.
Okay, good.
So we're going to do it 3 times because I was told that's the best way to do this, apparently.
But you're gonna randomly draw 3 times and only the third person gets it?
Yeah, because apparently, I don't know. That's what somebody told me. It's the best way. Samuel Rangel is our winner. So we'll get in touch with Samuel and we'll get that Spider-Man pop shipped out to him.
Congratulations,
nice.
Samuel.
Thank
That
you.
Spider-Man pop
Thank
is
you,
really
Samuel.
nice.
Yeah, it's Octa Spidey. Now, Tyler had a little, a bit of a, how do you say, fascination with the 8-limbed Octo Spidey. So we're going to try to get you one that doesn't look used. I don't know if you guys remember that whole conversation.
This is starting to sound like it belongs in the R-rated block of Stuber.
Oh, gosh, I remember now. I remember this conversation. Oh, man. Oh,
so Tyler was very infatuated with the idea of an 8-limbed pop for some reason. So we'll get you a brand new, not Tyler touched pop to send out to your home, Samuel. So thank you so much for being a loyal listener. But until next time, everybody, we're going to talk about Bloodshot next week. Go check us out on Facebook, Instagram. Make sure to visit couchcrunchers.com for everybody on the rewatch on Monday morning. Make sure to head on over to the YouTube and hit subscribe so you too can win a pop when we hit another 50 subscribers. But until next time, keep on geeking on.